My name is Janie Eldridge. I am a child life specialist at Women's and Children's Hospital in Lafayette, Louisiana. My job is to help the patients cope with being in the hospital. I deal with the psychosocial elements of hospitalization. It's kind of a new part of healthcare. Child life has been in the hospital for about 25 years, I would say. It started in bigger cities and it's kind of worked its way down. So I am the first one in Lafayette and deal with certain procedures, kind of help to distract or make the hospital a little more kid-friendly and more like home. I started out in pre-med, was going to go to physical therapy school, but I didn't like biology. I felt like I was dealing more with the illness and less with the person. And so I ran across child life. It was kind of everything that I had ever wanted to do. Work with people in a vulnerable state where they were real and we would have real conversations and real interactions while still getting to know them and helping treat them in their illness, but just kind of in a different way. So I guess what drew me to work with just kids, just always had a love for children. I was always the one at family events who was around all of everyone's babies and grandbabies. I guess I tossed around the fact of working with families and working with children, but in my job I get to do both. I not only work with the patients but also provide family support, but my primary focus is on children, and so it's kind of a neat way to get to work with everyone, but focusing on the children. I guess the population that I work with the most would be our oncology population, while at the same time I do see everyone in the hospital, or at least try to. So I see anywhere from our cancer patients to patients who come with the flu, to pneumonia, to come in with a fracture. I kind of see everyone. Our oncology population does take a different kind of support from me. I guess my interventions with our oncology populations look a little different than the other populations. They look different because our patients are chronic, so they're constantly coming in. So the foundation of building a relationship is more important because it's kind of the relationship and having a friend in a support system in the hospital that help the interventions to actually work. I guess the strategies working with children are completely different than adults. It's also different from each child. So a 5-year-old boy would be different than a 10-year-old girl. So it's kind of unique to a person, and a 5-year-old boy could be completely different than another 5-year-old boy. So part of my job is to enter into the kids' world. If I walk in and they're playing with a Thomas the Train, then I have to find everything humanly possible interesting about Thomas the Train, and so that I can become a trusting person to them, so that when I do have to explain a procedure, then they'll view me as someone who's real and who is honest with them and is not trying to just get something or play a trick on them and poke them with a needle when they're not looking. I think often in care, because people are so concerned about helping the child to feel better, physically it's not often seen that it's important firsthand to make sure they're okay emotionally. There are little things that people can do. I guess for my training, I study developmental stages. So a kid's how they develop through the years. So before age 7, for instance, kids don't think logically. So if a nurse would come in and say, I'm going to flush your IV, which means in their arm, they're going to put some water in it, saline inside to make it kind of clear. The kid would think, first reaction, I'm going to grab your hand, put it in the toilet and flush it, because the only definition of flush they know is down the toilet. IV, for instance, they don't know. The only way they only heard IV before was poison ivy. So it's creating a language and presenting the situation in a way that the child can understand. And I don't think it's anything that anyone would do purposefully, saying I'm going to flush your IV and being like, oh, I don't care if he thinks I'm going to put it in the toilet. It's just something that maybe people aren't aware of.